Hello, I'm Claire and welcome to my channel. So today's video is going to be my May perfume tray. I'm going to pick 10 fragrances to concentrate on during May, and I'm also going to review my most worn fragrances from April. If you haven't seen me before, I make content all about fragrance. So if you are interested and you haven't already done so, then please do consider subscribing. And please do like this video if you do end up enjoying this content. So April was a five-way tie really between my most worn, and these were things that I just ended up wearing in different parts of the month. Really, April was quite a cold month in general, and so I was sort of switching between the more spring-like ones and the more comforting ones. So when it was colder, I was reaching for fragrances like this one. So this is Sandalwood Temple by Saint Jardin. And this fragrance just has a nice kind of almost spicy aspect to the sandalwood. It is still milky and comforting, but it's also got this almost slight smokiness to it as well. And I just think this one is perfect for work, so that's really where I ended up wearing this one most. I also did end up wearing this fragrance, Coach EDP. So this is a really fresh feeling raspberry and rose fragrance with a musky, suede dry down. But really it's that sort of zingy raspberry at the beginning that I really love. I ended up taking this one away with me when I went for the weekend away in April. And also I ended up wearing this one mostly around Easter time. I just think this one is a nice, fresh, dewy, white floral fragrance. It's Gucci Bloom's Nettare de Fiori flanker. Just a nice fresh spring floral. And then the other two fragrances I ended up wearing quite a bit in April were Atelier de Fleurs Sable Lavande. So I just got this one and I was excited to wear it, and it was, you know, something new in my collection. That's really why I was reaching for this one. But I just really love that kind of creamy, almost roasted coconut feel, which I think is actually fig in this fragrance, but I sort of sense it more as coconut in the dry down. But yeah, Sable Lavande. And I also ended up wearing this one, which is an old favourite from Mabelle. This is Lunar Dust. So this is a sparkly molecular iris fragrance with some woods. But this is just a very neutral smelling fragrance. My dad's very sensitive to fragrance. So I wore this one while I was with him at Easter time, because I know that if I wear a strong fragrance, he will just end up coughing. So yeah, Mabelle Lunar Dust definitely hits the spot there. So for May, I really want some dewy, fresh spring florals, and I also want some solar florals for if the weather gets a bit warmer. And of course, I also want some easygoing fragrances for work. I want some things that I don't have to think too much about to wear to work. So what's on my tray for May? So the first fragrance for May is going to be this one from Une Nuit Nomade. So I bought a sample set from Une Nuit Nomade, and I got this for free alongside the sample set. This is a 5ml of Love at First Sight, and I'd not tried anything from Une Nuit Nomade before, so I've been working my way through the sample set. But at the moment, this is the one that's appealing to me the most from the fragrances that I've tried. So this one is really a dewy, fresh lilac fragrance. It feels very much like lilac after the rain, but there's also something almost sweet, a little bit honeyed, perhaps a bit polleny here, and I think that must be the acacia. I also think that there's a bit of an ozonic feel to this, which just adds to that after the rain feel. It's got some ambroxan in the dry down, which I think is what is contributing to that ozonic feel. It just feels very spring appropriate, and of course lilacs bloom in the UK around May time, so this one really had to go on my tray this month. So that's Love at First Sight by Une Nuit Nomade. So the next fragrance is one that was, I think, last on my tray back in March, and because I received all of those Chloe fragrances and I spent March trying those fragrances, I ended up really not wearing this one, and I want to give it another chance to be enjoyed because I think this one really suits the springtime. It's a very solar feeling fragrance. So this one is Masque Milano's Ray-Flection. So this is a beautiful powdery mimosa fragrance, but it's also got some aldehydes, and it's also got some beeswax, and then also just this beautiful citrusy opening. It's just so yellow, so bright, and perfectly suits the springtime. I'm really looking forward to wearing this one. I cannot wait to wear this one. So this is Ray-Flection by Masque Milano. So my next choice for May is continuing on the solar theme, and this one is Granado's Madrepérola. So I was gifted this one recently and I made a review video talking about this, but ultimately this was really something that I was quite stunned by. I just think this one has a lovely kind of creamy white aspect to it, that makes me think of something bright, but it's not solar in the same way that the last fragrance was solar. Whereas the last one would be a yellow feeling fragrance, this is definitely a white feeling fragrance. So this has some florals, but I would say the florals take a back seat. They just lend a bit of creaminess to this. There's also something that I think really must be a combination of the musk, the sandalwood, and perhaps also some tonka here that give it a real almost coconutty aspect to me, this fragrance. So yes, this one's on my tray because I just want another opportunity to wear it. So that's Madrepérola by Granado. So the next fragrance is discontinued, but I do still see this one around on discount sites. So I think you can pick this one up if you did want it. In fact, I saw this one only a week ago, I think for less than £20 on eBay, brand new bottle. So there are definitely bargains to be had with this. This is Lolita Lempicka's Elle L'Aime à la Folie, and this is truly one of the best solar ambers I've smelt. It's a really rich, golden feeling amber, and I think that's helped by the resin, so there's myrrh here, and there's also a really golden feeling, deep, rich ylang-ylang too. I just think Lolita Lempicka fragrances are underrated. They're always quite dramatic feeling to me, and this is no exception. But this one is just so rich feeling. It really makes me think a little bit of something like Guerlain's Terracotta. I think if you like terracotta, you would like this one too. So yeah, that's Elle L'Aime à la Folie by Lolita Lempicka. Next up is a more summery one, but I think this one I will pull for if the weather gets really warm this month. I think this fragrance is something that will probably return to my tray later on in the summertime, but for now I just cannot wait to wear this one. So this is Alluring Fig by Theodoros Kalotinis, and this is really quite a simplistic feeling fragrance in a way, but it's just so well done. It's really a green feeling fig, so it's all about the fig leaf, the fig branches, but also the fig fruits. It's just one of the best interpretations of fig that I've smelt, alongside a green feeling, but still quite creamy feeling vanilla. It's something that I think has a slightly milky aspect to it as well. I think often fig can come off as a little bit sappy, a little bit milky almost. But this one always makes me think of a summer holiday in the Mediterranean. So this is Theodoros Kalotinis Alluring Fig. So the next fragrance is again something green and sappy, and I think I'm just really wanting to extend the season in which I wear this one, because I usually put this on my tray in really hot weather, and you know, in the UK we don't tend to have super hot weather for very long, so I just want more opportunities to wear this one. So I thought if I put this on my tray in May, then I've got another opportunity. So this one is Le Jardin de Monsieur Li by Hermès. So this is a green sappy kumquat fragrance. The kumquat, if you haven't smelt it in fragrance, it comes off as something like a very soft mandarin crossed with a lemon maybe, but also with maybe a stone fruit, something like an apricot or perhaps even a peach. There's definitely a softness there, really, and it's not a sharp citrus at all. It's something very much more toned down. Also with this, you've got that aquatic, almost watery feel to this fragrance, and then also a bit of a floral feel. So there's a really soft but quite green feeling jasmine here. Just a really refreshing fragrance, and something that I think I will reach for if it gets warmer this month. So that's Le Jardin de Monsieur Li by Hermès. So next, I really want to enjoy those Chloe fragrances more, and I'm putting another one on my tray this month because I found myself with Sable Lavande last month just thinking about this fragrance, and I think this one just feels more energetic, it feels more solar, and it feels more appropriate for warmer weather. So this one is Vert Soleil, and I was gifted this by Chloe. So this fragrance is a green but fresh citrusy fragrance. It's still quite a soft fragrance, but I'd say it's more like a jewel toned kind of citrus. It makes me think of something quite bright and quite solar feeling, but there's also quite a fresh feeling rose here. It's a softer rose, almost like a rose crossed with a magnolia, so it's got that smoothness to it. And there's also a bit of a texture here in the dry down. I think that's the mastic in this fragrance. It's almost a yellowy green feeling fragrance really in the dry down, alongside a bit of a woodiness and a muskiness. Just a really nice kind of almost zingy feeling fragrance in the opening that really softens into the dry down. These fragrances in this range are not the longest lasting. I think if you're looking for a really punchy, strong fragrance, this is not the range to go for. But I think if you really just want something that is going to make you think of sunshine, Mediterranean and warm weather, this is a great fragrance. So this is Vert Soleil by Atelier de Fleurs from Chloe. So next is my scent of the day, and this is a fragrance that I think is really unusual for me to enjoy, but you can see from the dent of this just how much I love this one. So this is Chant d'Extase by Nina Ricci. I think this is quite an old fragrance. It clearly is discontinued, but actually I do still see this one available. I did check before this video and it is still available to buy, at least in the UK. This one I've had for a few years, but it's always something I come back to around this time of year. It's just something that I find very easygoing and quite unusual, really. This is a caramel and vanilla fragrance, but there's also a bit of a salty marine aspect to this. It's very subtle though. I'm not someone who loves caramel. I'm not someone who loves salty marine fragrances. And this one just completely bucks the trend for me. This is something that I can't get enough of. So this, I think, really the magic here is the balance between those notes alongside the fresher notes. There's raspberry and there's also ginger here. And whilst those aren't super prominent, they are important in the opening of the fragrance, and they do just sort of not make this a sweet, sticky, overly sugary kind of fragrance. This whole range I absolutely loved. This was a range that was formulated by Francis Kurkdjian, and I really wish I'd picked up more of this range. So this one is Chant d'Extase by Nina Ricci. So the next fragrance is one that I have been reaching for organically this last month anyway, so I thought I'd better put this one on my tray because clearly I'm in the mood for this fragrance. This again is an easygoing vanilla fragrance, and this one is Nirvana Amethyst by Elizabeth and James. So this is a sweet tobacco fragrance, and the reason I love this one is because it takes me back to one of my first jobs in science. I used to grow tobacco plants as one of my first jobs. And I used to breed tobacco plants, and you have to wait for the seeds to develop before you can collect the plants. And when the plants are drying, they become very sweet and very sticky. And going into the greenhouse, you get overwhelmed with the smell of tobacco and the sweet stickiness from the plants. And this fragrance really makes me think of that smell. It's just a beautiful kind of sweet, almost honeysuckle smell, alongside that tobacco and then also some vanilla as well. Delicious, moorish, easygoing, woody, just something that's simple but really works. That's Nirvana Amethyst by Elizabeth and James. So the final fragrance is one that I have recently reviewed. I was sent this by Giorgio Armani, and I was also sent its sister fragrance, Si Passione Red Bloom, but out of the two, this is the one that I ended up preferring. And this surprised me actually, because I wasn't expecting to prefer this one. So this is Nude Bloom, and this really is quite similar to the original EDP in a way, but I would say you could imagine the EDP but seen through like hazy glasses. It's almost like a pastel version of the original EDP. There's also a bit of a sour citrus feel in the opening, and I would say also the patchouli is dialed back, the vanilla is much less, but it still does have that red rose, it still does have that blackcurrant, but it's like a blackcurrant boiled sweet covered in icing sugar, almost like a pastel, a blackcurrant pastel, alongside that red rose and then a very dialed back patchouli in the dry down. I think this one also has a nice muskiness to it. It's a very almost sort of gentle feeling version of C. You don't think of the syrupiness, you don't think of the richness, you don't think of the stickiness that you get with C in this fragrance. I think if you don't like the original C, you won't like this, but I do think this is like a spring summer version of C. And I can imagine if you like the EDT version of C, you would also like this. Really long lasting, this one. I had one compliment on this the other week when I was testing it as well, and that really surprised me. So yeah, that's Giorgio Armani's C Nude Bloom. So that's the final fragrance in this video. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have enjoyed it, then please do press the like button, and please also consider subscribing if you haven't done already. And please do let me know which fragrances you were reaching for most during April, whether you've rediscovered some old favourites or whether you've been reaching for a new fragrance in your collection. And please do let me know what's on your tray for May, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.